Devastating, unstoppable, game-changing. These words barely begin to capture the essence of the balloon, a force of nature that has reshaped the very foundation of Clash Royale. At first glance, the balloon might seem like a silly paradox, a patchwork of fraying ropes and weathered fabric guided by the unwavering courage of a single wallbreaker. But underneath this unassuming exterior lies a power so immense, it has forever altered the way we approach the game. This is the untold story of the balloon, from the days when it was overshadowed by all to its brightest moments in the spotlight, where it became the go-to choice for the world's greatest players. On January 4th, 2016, the world of mobile gaming was forever changed by the arrival of Clash Royale. Among the colorful cast of characters, one unassuming troop was destined to rise above the rest and become a true icon of the arena, the balloon. At first, many players overlooked the balloon, dismissing it as just another quirky addition to their decks, but as battles raged on in the Clash Royale arena, it became evident that this unassuming flying menace was not to be underestimated. From the very beginning, the balloon proved to be a troop like no other. Some paired it with tanks like the Giant or Golem, creating an unstoppable push. Others used the balloon as a surprise weapon, sending it in to catch their opponents off guard and secure a clutch victory. This strategic versatility was particularly important in the early days of Clash Royale, when the rarity of a card was a big deal. Back then, a card's rarity determined not only its power, but also how hard it was to obtain and upgrade. In January 2016, the highest rarity of all of them was Epic. Legendary cards didn't exist back then. They were just a twinkle in the eye of Clash Royale developers. So if you managed to unlock an epic card like Balloon, you felt like you just struck gold. Because of its epic rarity, the balloon was much harder to upgrade than your average common card. As a result, its usage rate was nowhere near as high as the more easily obtainable cards like Barbarians, Archers, or Zap. Fortunately, we have access to a wealth of data that can help us understand the balloon's journey in greater detail. But before we dive into the numbers of the nerdy stuff, which I know you guys are probably here for anyway, making this channel and working on these videos has been such a burst of positivity in my life, and you guys really do genuinely make it worth it. Your support means the world to me, and I'd be thrilled if you could take a second to hit that subscribe button and join us over on the community in Discord. Now, back to the nerdy data. So thanks to Woody's dedication, we have a fascinating glimpse into the way the game evolved over these 2 years. Woody's data provides invaluable insight into the usage rates, win rates, and popular card combinations of that era. So what did Woody's data reveal about the balloon? Well, in January 2016, the balloon was used in about 14 out of every 100 matches. That might not sound like a lot, but for an epic card, a 14% usage rate was pretty darn impressive. To put that in perspective, let's compare the balloon to some other epic cards from that time. The Golem, for example, had a 9% usage rate, while the P.E.K.K.A. was even lower, at just 2%. The balloon was clearly punching above its weight, but its popularity wasn't just a fluke. The players quickly discovered that when paired with the freeze spell, the balloon became a formidable counter to one of the most common buildings in the game, the Expo. The Expo was a formidable adversary, capable of targeting both ground and air troops, making it a significant threat to most strategies. But the balloon had a trick up its sleeve. Not only could it dish out massive damage to an Expo, but it could also draw its fire away from the tower, preventing any unwanted chip damage. As word of the balloon's effectiveness against the Expo spread, more and more players started scrambling to add it to their decks. Suddenly, the balloon wasn't just a novelty card, it was a legitimate threat in the Clash Royale arena. Players poured their hard-earned resources into leveling up their balloons, knowing that a well-upgraded balloon could be a difference between victory or defeat. With players investing heavily in the balloon, it became a staple in many decks, but the search for the perfect combination was far from over. As the game of Clash Royale continued to evolve, players were still experimenting with different combinations, trying to find the perfect synergy between troops. The balloon, while popular, wasn't necessarily tied to any one specific deck archetype. You might see a giant Prince Balloon combo one day, and then an Expo Balloon deck the next. Players were throwing everything at the wall to see what would stick, but one combination that seemed to pop up fairly frequently was the Hog Rider Balloon duo. I mean, it made sense. The Hog Rider was a fast, hard-hitting troop that could quickly take down towers, while the balloon provided that extra punch of damage to finish the job. But at this point, everything was pretty much in flux. Players were still figuring out what cards worked best together, and that's why it was so interesting to come across a video from a player named Mold. In the video, Mold showcased his climb up the ladder using a balloon freeze deck. But what really caught my eye was when he started showing off the decks of the top-ranked players. Lo and behold, every single one of them had a balloon in their deck. It was a testament to just how dominant the balloon was at the highest levels of play. The balloon's versatility and raw power made it a staple in the decks of the game's most skilled players. These were the best of the best, and they all recognized the balloon's incredible potential. Now, it's hard to say for sure how popular the balloon was at lower levels of play. As I mentioned before, epic cards like the balloon were really tough to obtain and even tougher to upgrade, which put them out of reach for a lot of casual players. My guess is that the balloon's usage rate wasn't quite as high for the lower ranks and middle tiers of the ladder. But just as players were starting to get a handle on the current meta, Supercell threw a wrench into the works. In February, they released a massive update that introduced a whole slew of new cards to the game. We got the first taste of legendary cards with the Ice Wizard and the Princess, as well as some new epic cards in the Dark Prince and Poison. The Three Musketeers joined the fray as a rare card, and the Royal Giant stomped onto the scene as a new common card. The arrival of new cards in Clash Royale was always an exciting time for players. It meant fresh strategies, new synergies, and a whole lot of experimentation. But as any seasoned player knows, a new card could also mean a major shakeup to the game's balance. And that's exactly what happened when Supercell released a balance update that gave the Tesla a whopping 7% damage boost. Suddenly, this once overlooked building was the talk of the town. Players everywhere were scrambling to add the Tesla to their decks, and it showed. The Tesla's usage rate skyrocketed from a measly 2% to an astonishing 29%, making it the most popular building in the entire game. Suddenly, the balloon was struggling to find its place in the meta. At the highest levels of play, the balloon all but disappeared, with a usage rate of just 2%. It was a far cry from its former glory as one of the most dominant troops in the game. However, the balloon's fate was not sealed entirely. Down in the lower and middle tiers of the ladder, the balloon managed to hang on. Every now and then you'd see a balloon floating across the field, and some players even managed to make it work in the face of the Tesla's dominance. These brave souls refused to let the meta dictate their playstyle, and instead found clever ways to outsmart and outplay their Tesla-wielding opponents. But for most players, the Tesla's reign of terror seemed like it would never end. That is until Supercell stepped in once again with another balance update. They knew that the Tesla had become too powerful, too oppressive, and too dominant in the meta, and so they brought the nerf hammer down hard. First, they reduced the Tesla's hit points by 5%, making it a bit easier to take down, but that was just the beginning. Just a month later, they increased the Tesla's attack time interval from 0.7 seconds to 0.8 seconds, slowing down its damage output. And to top it all off, they gave the Tesla a massive nerf to its lifetime, decreasing it from a full minute to just 40 seconds. These changes sent shockwaves through the Clash Royale community. The Tesla, once the king of the meta, had been dethroned, and in its place, the balloon began to rise once again. Pun intended. Among the top players, the balloon's usage rate shot up from a humble 2% to a respectable 12%. The balloon's comeback was a sight to behold. Players everywhere were dusting off their favorite balloon decks and taking to the skies once more. And the most popular decks of all, the classic balloon freeze combo. This dynamic duo had been a fan favorite for a long time, and for a good reason. It was fun to play, it was easy to play, and it was downright devastating when pulled off correctly. With the Tesla Tower no longer dominating the meta, the balloon freeze was back and better than ever. But Supercell wasn't done tweaking the balloon just yet. At the end of February, they released another balance update that gave the balloon a small but significant change. They decreased the balloon's sight range from 8 tiles to 7.7. Now, I know that might not sound like much, but it actually made the balloon a bit better. Players now had to be more careful with their building placement, as the balloon could sneak up on them more easily. And if that wasn't enough, just 1 month later, the balloon received yet another buff. This time, Supercell increased the balloon hit points by 5%. Players were buzzing with excitement. The balloon was back, and it was better than ever. The balloon's resurgence injected new life into the game, reshaping the meta and inspiring players to explore innovative strategies. One of these strategies that emerged was called Epic Angry Balloon. The goal was to catch your opponent off guard by distracting them with the giant skeleton on one end of the field. Since the giant skeleton's bomb could wipe out most troops, your opponent would likely spend a ton of elixir trying to counter it. But here's where the fun begins. While they focused on that side, you unleash a surprise attack on the other side with a balloon and a rage spell. What made this strategy even crazier was the insane range of the rage spell back then. It was like 5 times bigger than it is today. Just look at it. That's a big boy.
And here I am with my sneaky Epic Angry Balloon. Just like that. He barely saw that coming.
Peace. No! Yo! No!
As the weeks turned to months, the balloon's popularity showed no signs of waning. It had firmly cemented itself in place in the pantheon of Clash Royale greatness, hovering at a steady 10% usage rate among the game's most skilled players. Wherever you looked, the balloon was there, floating serenely across YouTube videos and Twitch streams, a testament to its enduring appeal. But Supercell knew that even legends could use a little love from time to time, and so they announced a change to the balloon's hit point bar in the May update. No longer would players have to squint and strain to see how much health their precious balloon had left. However, as the sun rose on a new era of Clash Royale, a new challenger appeared on the horizon, the Lava Hound. This mythical beast was the first of its kind, a legendary air troop that promised to change the game forever. For balloon enthusiasts, this creation was nothing short of a dream come true. The Lava Hound was the perfect partner for the balloon, a massive flying tank that could absorb enemy fire and clear the way for its floating companion to work its magic. Together, they formed an unstoppable duo, a force of nature that swept across the Clash Royale landscape like a mighty wind. As the summer of 2016 blazed on, new decks were popping up left and right, each one more daring and inventive than the last. But amid this sea of creativity, one combination stood tall above the rest: the holy trinity of Lava Hound, Balloon, and their good old partner, Freeze. This deck was a force of nature, a perfect storm of synergy and power that swept across the arena like a tidal wave. But the Lava Hound wasn't the only giant making waves in the arena. The tried-and-true combo of Giant, Balloon, and Elixir Collector was still going strong. Also, the Royal Giant was proving to be a formidable partner for the Balloon as well. The possibilities kind of seemed endless, limited only by the imaginations of the players who wielded these mighty cards. And then there was the Giant Skelly. The Giant Skelly's massive bomb was the perfect complement to the Balloon's devastating strikes, clearing out enemy swarms and paving the way for the Balloon. The combination of the Giant Skeleton's bomb and the Balloon's devastating strikes proved to be a formidable synergy that kept opponents on their toes. And for a while, it seemed like nothing could stop this unstoppable force. But just when it seemed like the Balloon had reached the pinnacle of its power, Supercell dropped another bombshell on the Clash Royale world: the Lumberjack. This beast was the perfect partner for the Balloon, his rage spell turning an already devastating combo into a truly unstoppable force. The Lumberloon deck, which, by the way, awesome name, quickly became the stuff of legend, striking fear into the hearts of opponents everywhere. Some paired it with the freeze spell, using it to lock down enemy defenses and clear the way for the Balloon. Others turned to the poison spell, using its lingering damage to whittle down enemy swarms and keep the Balloon safe from harm. In a captivating twist of fate, the landscape of Clash Royale underwent a monumental shift in the blink of an eye. September marked the introduction of the most game-changing air troop to enter the arena, the Mega Minion. With attack speed, health, and damage surpassing its present-day counterpart, this formidable creature could vanquish a Balloon in a mere 6 seconds, posing an unparalleled threat to Lava Loon decks. As a consequence, the twilight of 2016 proved to be the darkest hour for the Balloon. November saw its usage rate among top players plummet to an unbelievable, never-before-seen 0%. Not a single soul among the Elite 100 dared to wield the Balloon for the once mighty freeze spell in their decks. Such was the profound impact of the Mega Minion's arrival. Nicknamed the Meta Minion, its dominance was undeniable, its usage rate soaring to an astronomical 86% in November, surpassing even the mighty Phoenix of 2022, which boasted an impressive 85% usage rate. Our boy beat it by 1%. For those curious about the Mega Minions' storied past, a comprehensive video chronicling its history awaits on this very channel. But, for now, let's return to the tale of the balloon. With its status as the least used card in the arena, Supercell recognized the need for change. And change they made. December brought a monumentous buff for the balloon, as the balance update increased its death damage by a staggering 105% and expanded its death damage explosion radius from a modest 2 tiles to an impressive 3. This dramatic change blew new life into the balloon, ensuring that even if it failed to strike the tower directly, its bomb could still inflict the necessary damage. As the meta minion began to receive its first round of well-deserved nerfs, its attack speed, health, and damage were decreased. As we witnessed time and time again, such changes possess the power to completely reshape the meta and the popularity of cards. And so, the balloon's usage rate skyrocketed from the poor 0% in November to an astonishing 19% in December. As the balloon rose from the ashes, players everywhere knew that a new era had begun. The balloon was back, and it was ready to take its rightful place as one of the most iconic and beloved cards in Clash Royale history. No matter how the winds of the meta may shift, the balloon will forever find a way to rise above and soar to new heights. As the curtain rose on 2017, the balloon soared to new heights, boasting a remarkable 15% usage rate across the vast expanse of Clash Royale's arenas. Though the meta minion's reign of terror had been tempered, it remained a force to be reckoned with. Yet the balloon had found its moment to shine. Amidst the shifting landscape, one particular deck rose to prominence, capturing the hearts and minds of players across the land: the legendary Lava Loon. Now supported by the formidable trio of the meta minion, Fireball, and Zap, emerged as a dominant force in the meta. This fearsome combination of cards working in perfect harmony proved to be a recipe for success, leaving opponents in awe and despair. In this ever-shifting landscape, one particular YouTuber's creation stood out from the rest. This was a masterpiece of a deck, featuring the Balloon and Lumberjack supported by the Tornado and Executioner. The Executioner at this point in time was an unstoppable force on the battlefield, boasting an extended range, increased damage output, and the uncanny ability to strike down troops lurking behind him, such as skeletons, even while focusing on the enemies ahead. The Executioner was, well, exceptional, to say the least. But his might was only enhanced by the Tornado, a spell whose duration seemed to stretch for an eternity. This perfect pairing formed an unbreakable bond, allowing the Executioner to unleash his full potential, sweeping away enemies with ease and precision. Yet the true heart of this deck lay in the lethal combination of the Balloon and Lumberjack. However, the mighty Executioner, once the king of the arena, suddenly found himself on the receiving end of the nerf hammer. It was a blow that shook the very foundations of Clash Royale, leaving players wondering if this was the end of an era. But fear not, for the Executioner's loyal companion, the Balloon, refused to let his friend fade into obscurity. Together, they formed an unbreakable bond, a dynamic duo that continued to strike fear into the hearts of their opponents. As April rolled around, a new threat emerged from the shadows, ready to claim its place in the spotlight. Behold, the triumphant trio of Executioner, Balloon, and P.E.K.K.A, a force so formidable that it sent shockwaves through the meta. The P.E.K.K.A had undergone a stunning transformation. With a deploy time reduced from a sluggish 3 seconds to a lightning-fast 1, this beautiful woman was now a force to be reckoned with. This trio began to dominate the arena, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. But the winds of change were blowing, and the Balloon found itself caught in the eye of the storm. A controversial balance update in April left players scratching their heads, unsure whether to celebrate or lament. The Balloon's death damage time, a crucial aspect of its kit, was increased from 1 second to 3 seconds. It was a change that divided the community, sparking heated debates in every corner of the Clash Royale kingdom. Some hailed it as a buff, others saw it as a nerf. As April marched on, the world of Clash Royale was set ablaze with the arrival of 4 new cards, each one bringing its own unique flavor to the ever-evolving meta. Bats, Bandit, Night Witch, and Heal Spell. These were the names on everyone's lips, the cards that would reshape the very fabric of the game. With these new additions came a flurry of innovative strategies, as players eagerly experimented with fresh combinations and daring plays. Among the most intriguing of these new decks was a stunning fusion of the tried-and-true Lava Loon archetype with the enigmatic Heal spell. One of the top players managed to climb the ranks and secure a spot in the top 3 using this groundbreaking deck. The Heal spell, when played with surgical precision, had the power to completely alter the course of a battle. But beware, misplaying the Heal spell could lead to the swift downfall of your strategy. It was a high-risk, high-reward card, demanding both skill and nerves of steel from those who dared to wield it. As the Lava Loon Heal deck began to make waves in the arena, players across the land scrambled to unravel its secrets. They studied replays, pored over stats, and engaged in heated debates, all in the hopes of mastering this enigmatic new strategy. Some hailed it as the next big thing, a game changer that would redefine the meta for months to come. Others remained skeptical, warning of the dangers of relying too heavily on a single, unpredictable card. As the summer sun rose high over the Clash Royale kingdom, the balloon found itself weathering a storm of change. Woody, a master analyst and keen observer of the game, took it upon himself to delve into the top 200 decks, seeking to unravel the mysteries of this new era. What he discovered left players breathless with anticipation. The Three Musketeers beatdown deck, a force of nature in its own right, had claimed an astonishing 39 appearances among the elite. In the face of this onslaught, the once mighty Lava Loon deck found itself pushed to the edge. Only 5 players dared to wield this combo in the face of the Three Musketeer menace, a stark contrast to its former glory. For the balloon, these were trying times. Its usage rate, once soaring at an impressive 15%, had plummeted to a mere 3%. It was a humbling moment for this proud card, as it watched its influence wane in the face of this new meta. But even in the darkest of times, hope endures. The most skilled players, those who had mastered the art of the balloon, refused to let this setback define them. They knew deep in their hearts that the balloon's true power lay not in its usage rate, but in the hands of those that could wield it with unmatched precision and grace. As the meta shifted, a new deck emerged, taking the leaderboards by storm. The Minor Balloon Control deck, featuring the newly buffed Inferno Dragon and the Dart Goblin, became a force to be reckoned with. Even top players like Pompeo, who consistently reached the highest ranks, found success with this powerful combination. In a meta dominated by P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam, this deck proved to be the perfect counter. With many players opting for arrows and poison to deal with the Night Witch's relentless bat spawns, the Inferno Dragon was left unchecked, as Zap and Lightning fell out of favor. This lack of a reliable reset mechanism for the Inferno Dragon was a game changer, and Pompeo masterfully showcased its potential on the field. The synergy between the Minor, Balloon, and Inferno Dragon was undeniable. The Minor tanked for the Balloon, while the Inferno Dragon provided unparalleled defensive capabilities. With the Dart Goblin's consistent damage output and the deck's overall versatility, players found themselves climbing the ranks and dominating their opponents. As the sun set on the final days of 2017, the balloon maintained its presence in the decks of Clash Royale's finest, from the top of the ladder to the humblest ranks below. With a steady 7 to 12% usage rate, he had become a staple in the decks of players far and wide. But little did they know, the winds of change were about to blow through the arena, turning the meta on its head in the blink of an eye. The balloon's reign was about to reach new heights and soaring above the competition like never before. As we entered 2018, the Mega Knight found its way into almost everyone's deck. Players had invested heavily in upgrading this card since its introduction in mid-2017, making it a key component in many decks and an iconic figure in Clash Royale history. However, this also led to the Mega Knight becoming one of the most hated cards in the game. Players grew frustrated with its overwhelming presence and the difficulty in countering it effectively, leading to a growing sense of discontent within the community. Players were faced with a significant challenge, finding effective strategies to counter these mid-ladder Mega Knight decks. One of the most popular decks featuring the Mega Knight was the Mega Knight Zap Bait. This deck combined the Mega Knight and Minor with Bats, Goblin Gang, Spear Goblins, and Skeleton Barrel, creating an annoying and difficult to counter combination. In response to this meta shift, the Minor Balloon 2.9 deck took the arena by storm. This deck showcased excellent synergy between its cards, with the Knight serving as a sturdy tank for the Balloon and the Executioner and Tornado combo providing a strong counter to nearly every card on the field. The deck's low average elixir cost, made possible by the inclusion of the Ice Spirit, Skeletons, and Zap, allowed for rapid cycling and relentless pressure on the opponent. One player who truly mastered this deck was Surgical Goblin. He dominated the leaderboards with the Minor Balloon 2.9, reaching the top of the global rankings and maintaining his position for an impressive period. His success with the deck inspired many others to try their hands at this powerful strategy. As the meta continued to evolve, players adapted and discovered new ways to counter the Mega Knight and the Minor Balloon 2.9 deck. However, the impact of these two decks on the early 2018 meta cannot be overstated. They showcase the importance of adapting to new challenges and the potential for skillful players to make their mark on the game with innovative strategies and masterful gameplay. As we dig deeper into the Balloon's journey through 2018, it's kinda essential to discuss the card's performance in the competitive scene. Woody's snapshot from May 2018 provides a clear picture of the Balloon's dominance in the meta. Out of the 200 matches, Lavaloon beatdown decks made an impressive 14 appearances, securing the second spot among the most popular decks. Looking at the Balloon's usage rate, we can see that it appeared in 22 out of 200 matches, translating to an 11% usage rate. This statistic underscores the Balloon's strength and its continued significance throughout the year. To illustrate the Balloon's power, let's review a match between Pompeo, the best Balloon player at the time, and a Chinese player using the Three Musketeers pump deck. This battle showcased the crucial role of the Balloon's death damage and how Pompeo managed to turn the tide of the match in his favor. Pompeo's strategic use of the Mega Minion proved invaluable in defense, allowing him to gradually build up a strong push with the Balloon. By employing Fireball and Zap to take out enemy troops, Pompeo created openings for his Balloon to reach the opponent's towers. The addition of the Miner to the push formed a lethal combination, overwhelming the Chinese players' defenses. This match serves as a testament to the Balloon's potential in the hands of a skilled player like Pompeo. His ability to capitalize on the Balloon's strengths, coupled with smart defensive plays and well-timed support troops, demonstrates why the Balloon remained a force to be reckoned with throughout the year. The year 2018 saw the Balloon maintain its position in the meta without any direct buffs or nerfs. However, a subtle change in the game's mechanics had a significant impact on the Balloon's interaction with certain spells, particularly the Rocket and the Fireball. Prior to this update, the Balloon was immune to the knockback effect of these spells. This meant that even if a rocket or a fireball connected with the Balloon, it would continue its path towards the opponent's tower unfazed. However, the update in question introduced a change that allowed the Balloon to be knocked back by spells like the rocket and fireball. This seemingly small alteration had far-reaching consequences for the Balloon's effectiveness and overall gameplay. With this change, players now had an additional tool to deal with the Balloon's advance. A well-timed rocket or fireball could not only damage the Balloon, but also push it back, buying precious seconds for the defending player to rally their troops and mount a more effective counter. In hindsight, this update can be seen as a slight nerf to the Balloon. While it didn't directly impact the Balloon's stats or abilities, it did make it more susceptible to spell-based counters. Despite this adjustment, the Balloon remained a viable and powerful choice in the meta. Skilled players adapted to the change and found new ways to work around the Balloon's increased vulnerability and knockback effects. As 2018 wore on, players continued to experiment with various strategies and card combinations, seeking to gain an edge over the ever-evolving meta. One particular deck that began to rise in popularity featured the formidable trio of P.E.K.K.A, Balloon, and Miner. This combination proved to be a devastating one, leaving opponents struggling to find an effective counter. The P.E.K.K.A's ability to easily handle tanks and enemy pushes made it the perfect cornerstone for this deck. Once the P.E.K.K.A had successfully thwarted the opponent's offensive efforts, players could seamlessly transition into a devastating counter push. By deploying the Balloon and Miner alongside the P.E.K.K.A, players created an unstoppable offensive force that left their opponents scrambling to defend. What made this deck even more remarkable was its effectiveness despite having only Zap as a spell card. While some might have seen this as a limitation, skilled players like Surgical Goblin demonstrated that it mattered little in the hands of a master. Surgical Goblin's exceptional gameplay and strategic decision-making allowed him to dominate the meta with this P.E.K.K.A Balloon Miner combination. Surgical Goblin's mastery of the P.E.K.K.A Balloon Miner deck showcased the versatility and power of this combination, inspiring other players to experiment with new strategies. His ability to consistently outplay opponents and adapt to different matchups solidified his position as a top player in in the Clash Royale community. As the curtain fell on 2018, the balloon's untapped potential lingered in the air, waiting to be unleashed. However, a massive shakeup was on the horizon, as the free spell received a game-changing buff that would alter the course of the balloon's journey in Clash Royale. The free spells buff introduced a new mechanic, and now dealt damage to both troops and princess towers. This seemingly small change had far-reaching implications for the game's meta, and the balloon's place within it. Suddenly, the balloon freeze combo became a terrifying prospect for opponents. With the stage set for a thrilling new chapter in the balloon saga, the Clash Royale community held its breath, knowing that the coming year would be one for the ages. As the dawn of 2019 broke, players eagerly dove into experimentation with the balloon and free spell combo, determined to harness its untapped potential on the battlefield. Deck builders and strategists worked tirelessly to find the perfect combination of cards to complement this deadly duo, and it wasn't long before some truly overpowered decks began to emerge, dominating the meta and leaving opponents struggling to find answers. One of the most formidable combinations to arise during this time was the Balloon Freeze Lumberjack Bowler Baby Dragon deck. This well-rounded composition offered a perfect balance of offense, defense, and utility, making it a force to be reckoned with on the ladder and in tournaments alike. The true power of this deck was on full display in a, well, now legendary match between Anaban and Jack. Anaban, piloting the Balloon Freeze Lumberjack Bowler Baby Dragon deck, faced off against Jack's 2.6 Hog Rider deck, a popular and formidable choice at the time. This match served as a testament to the incredible potential of the Balloon Freeze combo, and the skill of players who had mastered it. As word of Anaban's dominant performance spread, more and more players began to flock to this deck, hoping to replicate his success and climb the ranks. This deck was just one of many powerful combinations to emerge in 2019, but it stood out as a shining example of the balloon's newfound dominance. While this deck basked in the spotlight, the ever-evolving meta would soon give rise to new challenges and opportunities for balloon enthusiasts. As the P.E.K.K.A. Bridge Spam deck began to dominate the meta in early 2019, balloon players found themselves in need of a reliable counter. One of the more successful decks to emerge from this period of experimentation was the Balloon Miner deck, which featured the Hunter as its primary tank killer. The Hunter, a card that had been largely overlooked since its introduction in late 2017, suddenly found itself in the spotlight. Players discovered that the Hunter's high single target damage and relatively low elixir cost made it an excellent counter to the P.E.K.K.A. and other tanky units. But the Hunter was just one piece of the puzzle. The Balloon Miner deck also included bats, goblins, and the Ice Spirit, creating a well-rounded defensive package that could effectively deal with the various components of the P.E.K.K.A. Bridge Spam deck. The balloon's dominance throughout 2019 was nothing short of remarkable, as evidenced by the impressive usage rates and win percentages of various balloon decks. The Balloon Miner variation in particular stood out as a top-performing deck, boasting a staggering 66% win rate and attracting over 58,000 players in a single week. As the year progressed, the balloon continued to adapt and evolve alongside the shifting meta. The classic Lava Loon deck, a long favorite among players, also found its place in the spotlight during the middle of 2019. However, the meta underwent a significant transformation towards the end of the year with the introduction of two game-changing cards, the Elixir Golem and the Battle Healer. The Elixir Golem's arrival sent shockwaves through the Clash Royale community as players scrambled to devise strategies to counter this powerful new threat. The card's unique mechanics and the potential for massive pushes forced players to rethink their deck compositions and defensive strategies. Amidst this meta upheaval, an unlikely hero emerged: the Bomb Tower. Previously considered an underpowered card, the Bomb Tower's ability to deal with swarms of units and provide excellent area denial made it an invaluable asset in the face of the Elixir Golem meta. With the rise of the Royal Hogs and Recruits, and now the Elixir Golem, the Bomb Tower's popularity skyrocketed, becoming one of the most frequently used buildings in the game. Balloon players were quick to capitalize on this trend, incorporating the Bomb Tower to their decks to great effect. One particularly successful iteration was the Miner Balloon deck, which proved to be an excellent counter to the Elixir Golem meta. This deck's success hinged on the inclusion of the Musketeer, a versatile card that excelled at dealing with aerial threats. The effectiveness of this Miner Balloon deck was nothing short of astonishing, as it achieved an incredible 89% win rate. As the final days of 2019 slipped away, hushed murmurs of an even more awe-inspiring combination began to echo through the halls of the Clash Royale community. A combo so formidable and dreaded that it would irrecoverably alter the very fabric of the game. In the early days of 2020, a Reddit post sparked a heated discussion about the most toxic freeze archetype in Clash Royale. To no one's surprise, the Balloon Freeze decks emerged as a clear winner, receiving a staggering 102 out of 163 total votes. The community's verdict was clear. Balloon Freeze had earned its crown as the most infuriating and toxic and loathed combo in the game. However, little did the players know that this was merely the calm before the storm. Anaban, one of the most skilled P.E.K.K.A balloon players in the world, was about to unleash a new devastating combination: the P.E.K.K.A, Balloon, and Freeze deck. This deck proved to be incredibly effective, as we'll discover later in the video. Anaban would go on to dominate the game with this composition for years to come. Anaban's mastery of this deck would not only reshape the meta, but also cement his legacy as one of the greatest balloon players in Clash Royale history. His mastery of the P.E.K.K.A Balloon Freeze deck propelled him to incredible heights, securing the second place in the global rankings in April 2021, and even defeating the legendary Muhammad Light and Pompeo, who had previously reigned supreme with balloon decks. The secret to this deck's success lay in its elements of surprise and versatility. The P.E.K.K.A served as a formidable counter to tanks while also providing a sturdy foundation for the Lumberjack and Balloon to mount a devastating offensive push. Opponents often found themselves caught off guard by the unexpected combination of cards, struggling to defend against the relentless onslaught of the P.E.K.K.A Balloon Freeze. As word of Anaban's success with this deck spread, more and more players began to experiment with this powerful composition. Players were drawn to the deck's ability to surprise opponents and its versatility in both offense and defense. As the P.E.K.K.A Balloon Freeze deck began to dominate the meta, players quickly realized that no other balloon deck could match its effectiveness. Anaban's masterful gameplay served as a guiding light for aspiring balloon players, who flocked to his gameplay to learn the intricacies of piloting this powerful composition. Despite the balloon's unwavering popularity throughout 2020, the card managed to evade any significant balance changes. The balloon's reign seemed unassailable, even in the face of new challenges that threatened to disrupt its dominance. Even the introduction of the Firecracker, a card that quickly gained notoriety for its ability to disrupt enemy pushes and cause frustration among players, failed to diminish the balloon's effectiveness. While the Firecracker posed a new challenge for balloon players, they quickly adapted to its mechanics and developed strategies to counter it effectively. As players continued to refine their P.E.K.K.A Balloon Freeze decks and learn from Anaban's example, the balloon's dominance showed no signs of waning. The deck's success remained impressive, and it consistently performed well in both ladder play and competitive tournaments. As the final chapter of 2020 came to a close, the balloon supremacy remained an incredible force, and Anaban's virtuistic command of the P.E.K.K.A Balloon Freeze deck left players breathless with anticipation. With the balloon's strength undiminished and Anaban's star on the rise, the Clash Royale community could only wonder what incredible feats 2021 would bring. The dawn of 2021 brought with it a clear message. The balloon's reign was far from over. A closer look at the statistics from January of 2021 reveals the astounding prevalence of the balloon in high-level play. Out of 1,000 players, an impressive 162 included the balloon in their decks, resulting in a 16% usage rate at the game's highest echelons. This figure alone speaks volumes about the balloon's enduring strength and its position as arguably the best win condition in Clash Royale, but the evidence of the balloon's dominance doesn't stop there. An analyst of the top 30 players in the world reveals an even more staggering fact. 10 out of the top 30 decks featured the balloon, equating to a remarkable 33% usage rate among the game's elite. This statistic underscores the balloon's unparalleled popularity and effectiveness at the highest levels of competitive play. As we delve deeper into the ranks of the world's best balloon players, one name stands out above the rest, and you guessed it, it's Anaban. In January 2021, Anaban had already propelled himself to the 3rd place in the global rankings. However, in March, a new balance update brought significant changes to the balloon. The death damage of the balloon was decreased by 27%, from 272 down to 199. This nerf had a noticeable impact on the card's interactions, as it could no longer eliminate princess or archers with its death damage alone. Interestingly, the balloon's death damage remained just enough to destroy the guard's shield, dealing exactly 190 199 damage. As a result of this balance change, the balloon's usage rate at the highest level of play saw a dramatic drop of around 50%. Players had to adapt to the new mechanics and find alternative strategies to incorporate the balloon effectively into their decks. Thankfully, the Clash Royale community is known for its resilience and adaptability. Players quickly adjusted to the new reality of the balloon's reduced death damage, and soon enough, the card's usage rate climbed back to a respectable 11%, where it remains stable for the upcoming months. Despite the challenges posed by the balance update, the balloon persevered, and its dedicated players continued to showcase the card's strength and versatility in the arena. As Anaban continued to dominate the leaderboards, securing an impressive second place in the world in April and defeating even the most formidable opponents, a new and exciting balloon deck began to capture the attention of the Clash Royale community. Enter the Speedy Balloon, a creation of the beloved YouTuber B-Rad. While not necessarily a meta-defining deck, the Speedy Balloon quickly gained popularity for its unique and entertaining playstyle. The concept behind this deck was simple yet ingenious. Place the balloon first, then deploy a skeleton barrel directly behind it to give the balloon an extra push, increasing its speed. To further enhance the balloon's velocity, a rage spell would be cast, turning the balloon into basically a lightning-fast, tower-destroying machine. In fact, B-Rad took the time to calculate just how much faster the Speedy Balloon was compared to a regular balloon, and the results were pretty astonishing. A whopping 338% increase in speed. And maybe that's what inspired the rocket balloon in Clash. Anyway, the Speedy Balloon deck's ability to catch opponents off guard and instantly obliterate towers was a sight to behold. Word of the Speedy Balloon's success spread like wildfire, and soon, many prominent YouTubers were eager to showcase this exhilarating deck to their audiences. Boss, another well-known figure in the Clash Royale community, even dedicated a video to the Speedy Balloon, demonstrating its surprising effectiveness as he emerged victorious in most of his matches. Despite its unconventional composition, the Speedy Balloon deck proved to be more than just a gimmick. With the addition of the Inferno Tower and Knight, the deck also possessed a solid defensive foundation, allowing players to withstand the onslaught of various meta decks and counterpush with the devastating Balloon Skeleton Barrel Rage combination. Speedy Balloon's emergence in April 2021 served as a refreshing reminder for the endless possibilities for creativity and innovation within the Clash Royale community. While the deck may not have revolutionized the meta, it undoubtedly brought a sense of excitement and fun to the game, captivating players with its unique and entertaining playstyle. As the months passed, the balloon's usage rate maintained steady at around 10% across all levels of play. However, in November, the introduction of champions brought a wave of excitement and creativity to the Clash Royale community. These powerful new cards opened up a world of possibilities, changing the game's dynamics forever. Among the champions, one stood out above the rest: the Archer Queen. The Archer Queen quickly established herself as the strongest and most formidable and likable champion in the game. Her unique abilities and unparalleled versatility made her an instant favorite among players, and her presence on the battlefield was nothing short of game-changing. With the Archer Queen's dominance in full swing, I anticipated a significant drop in the balloon's usage rate. After all, how could the balloon compete with such a game-breaking champion? To my surprise, it was the opposite. In November, the balloon's usage rate skyrocketed from 11% to an astonishing 15%, representing a staggering 40% increase. As it turned out, players had discovered innovative ways to incorporate the balloon into their Archer Queen decks, finding powerful synergies that allowed them to counter the prevailing Archer Queen meta. The balloon's ability to adapt and thrive in the face of such a meta-defining champion was a testament to its enduring strength and the ingenuity of the Clash Royale community. With the balloon riding high on the wave of the Archer Queen meta, players looked forward to 2022 with anticipation and excitement. Little did they know that the year ahead would bring about changes that would shake the very foundations of the game, transforming the landscape of Clash Royale in the blink of an eye. In February of 2022, a significant balance update was introduced to the balloon, fundamentally altering its mechanics and changing the way players approached the card. The update brought about a 33% decrease in the balloon's damage output, which initially seemed like a substantial nerf. However, the change was followed by a 33% increase in the balloon's attack speed, reducing its attack time interval from 3 seconds down to 2 seconds. The community found itself divided on whether the update constituted a buff or a nerf. The reasoning behind this perspective is that prior to the update, the balloon's first hit on a tower was incredibly devastating, often dealing a staggering 1/3 of the tower's total health. However, it's important to note that in most scenarios, players rarely allowed the balloon to strike the tower more than once. If the balloon managed to get multiple hits, it usually meant the tower was already doomed, and investing more into defense was often not worth the elixir trade. While the increased attack speed made the balloon more formidable when left alone on the tower, the reality is that experienced players rarely let that happen. From a personal standpoint, despite my appreciation for the balloon as a card, I believe that this first hit was really too powerful. Taking down a third of a tower's health with a single strike felt pretty excessive, and could even decide the outcome of a match way too quickly. Personally, I think it was way too punishing for making this one mistake. Overall, while the update certainly shook up the balloon meta and required players to adapt, I believe it was a positive change for the health and longevity of the game. As the Clash Royale community adjusted to the February balance update, the balloon's usage rate remained relatively stable, hovering around 10% the following months. However, the meta was about to undergo a seismic shift. In October of 2022, Supercell introduced a new legendary air card that would change the face of the game. And if you played at all during this period, you know its name, you fear its name, the Phoenix. Upon its release, the Phoenix proved to be incredibly overpowered, boasting high hit points, devastating damage output, and a game-changing revival ability. The card's strength was so immense that it quickly became a staple in over 90% of players' decks across the entire game. With the Phoenix's dominance in full swing, I predicted a significant decrease in the balloon's usage rate, but the impact wasn't as severe as I had initially feared. The balloon's usage rate dropped from 10% to 6.6% in October, representing a 34% decrease compared to the previous months. While a 34% reduction in usage rate may seem substantial, it paled in comparison to the staggering 95% decrease experienced by some other cards in the wake of the Phoenix meta. Speaking of skilled players, let's take a moment to recognize the incredible performances of Anaban and Pompeo, two of the best balloon players in the world during the October meta. Anaban managed to reach an astonishing second place on the leaderboard with his main account, while also securing the 16th spot with his second. Similarly, Pompeo showcased his mastery of the balloon, achieving 8th and 12th places with his two accounts. These remarkable accomplishments underscore the fact that even in the face of a challenging meta, the most skilled players always find ways to adapt and excel. Anaban in particular displayed an incredible level of expertise, seamlessly integrating the balloon into decks that synergized with the Phoenix and Monk, the two dominant cards of the meta. His gameplay was nothing short of spectacular, leaving spectators in awe of his ability to consistently outplay his opponents and secure victories. Fortunately, Supercell recognized the need to address the Phoenix's overwhelming strength, and the card underwent several rounds of nerfs in the following weeks. Thank God. As a result, the Phoenix's presence in the meta gradually diminished, allowing other cards, including the balloon, to regain some of their former prominence. By December, the balloon's usage rate had rebounded to nearly 10%, signaling a return to normalcy. However, December also brought with it one of the most significant glitches in Clash Royale history. Players discovered an exploit involving the Mirror and Snowball cards, which allowed them to spawn a mirrored balloon directly on the opponent's tower instead of the intended snowball. This glitch was both hilarious and game-breaking, and enabled players to easily achieve 3-crown victories against unsuspecting opponents. The community quickly embraced this unintended mechanic, experimenting with various strategies to maximize its potential. And despite the temporary chaos caused by these glitches, the balloon remained a viable and popular choice among players, solidifying its position as a reliable win condition in the ever-evolving meta. As we enter 2023, the stage was set for another year of unpredictable changes and exciting developments in the world of Clash Royale. The balloon's journey is far from over, and its ability to withstand the test of time and adapt to new challenges will undoubtedly be put to the test once more. The year 2023 was a turning point for Clash Royale, introducing yet another game-changing mechanic that would reshape the meta and breathe new life into the game: evolutions. Prior to this monumental update, the balloon had maintained a consistent 10% usage rate across all levels of play, cementing its position as a reliable and popular win condition. However, the introduction of evolutions brought about an unexpected shift that propelled the Lava Loon deck to the forefront of the meta. The key to the Lava Loon's newfound dominance lay in the evolved Barbarians. Unlike their regular counterparts, these evolved barbs were indestructible to Fireball, a spell that had long been a staple to counter the classic Barbarian card. This seemingly small change had a profound impact on the Lava Loon archetype, making it one of the most overpowered decks in the game. The numbers speak for themselves. In August, usage statistics revealed that Lava Loon decks were the most prevalent in the meta, with the balloon's usage rate soaring to an impressive 13.7%. This represented a staggering 37% increase compared to the first half of 2023, a testament to the power of the evolved barbarians and the synergy they brought to the Lava Loon strategy. Among the players who capitalized on this meta shift was Rakan, who quickly established himself as one of the best Lava Loon players in the world. Rakan's mastery of the deck propelled him to an incredible second-place finish on the global leaderboard, a feat achieved by defeating some of the most skilled players in the game. One particularly noteworthy match saw Rakan go head-to-head with Muhammad Light, a formidable opponent in his own right. However, Rakan's combination of Lava Hound, Balloon, and Evolved Barbarians proved too much for Muhammad Light to handle, as Rakan expertly navigated the match and secured a decisive victory. Rakan's dominance didn't stop there though. In another showcase of his skill, he faced off against Riley, a renowned logbait player, not once, but twice. Despite Riley's expertise with his chosen archetype, Rakan was able to effortlessly turn the tides of battle, overwhelming Riley with his Lava Loon strategy and emerging victorious in both encounters. It's no wonder that Rakan's performances throughout the year earned him a well-deserved second-place finish on the global leaderboard, solidifying his status as one of the best players in the world. Unfortunately, the Lava Loon's reign at the top was short-lived. The introduction of the overpowered evolved archers in the latter part of the year once again shifted the meta, pushing the balloon's usage rate down to a mere 5.4% in December. This marked the balloon's lowest point in 2023, leaving many to wonder if the card would ever recover its former glory. But as we look ahead to 2024, there's a reason for optimism. The balloon has proven time and time again that it is a resilient card, capable of adapting and changing metas and finding new ways to shine. Its ability to withstand the ups and downs of the game, from the heights of the Lava Loon meta to the lows of the evolved archer dominance, is a testament to its enduring strength and the skill of players who continue to believe in its potential. Its journey is far from over, and the best is yet to come. As we enter 2024, the Clash Royale landscape underwent yet another significant shift. The once dominant evolved archers, which had pushed the balloon's usage rate to its lowest point in December of 2023, were hit with serious nerfs in January. While these balance changes didn't render the evolved archers useless, they did bring them down from their previously overpowered state to a more manageable level of strength. The impact of these nerfs on the balloon's popularity was immediate and pretty profound. From a mere 5.4% usage rate in December, the balloon soared to an impressive 13% in January, representing a staggering 140% increase in just 1 month. This remarkable comeback showcased the balloon's resilience and its ability to thrive in the meta that had once again become more favorable to its unique playstyle. Moreover, the introduction of new evolutions opened up a world of possibilities for Lava Loon players, who began to experiment with innovative strategies and card combos. Leading the charge was none other than our boy Rakan. In March, Rakan once again proved his mastery of the archetype, securing an impressive 5th place finish on the global leaderboard. This time, his deck featured the newly introduced Cannoneer Tower Troop, along with the evolved Zap and evolved Bomber. The synergy between these cards and the classic Lava Hound Balloon combo was nothing short of incredible, creating a deck that boasted 3 win conditions and was nearly impossible to counter. Rakan's gameplay was a testament to his skill and adaptability, and he seamlessly integrated the new cards and evolutions into his strategy, showcasing the true potential of the Lava Loon archetype in the hands of a master. His innovative approach caught the attention of top players worldwide, solidifying his reputation as a formidable force in the competitive Clash Royale scene. Rakan's success with this deck had sparked a new wave of experimentation and creativity among players looking to push the boundaries of traditional strategies. Looking ahead, it seems inevitable that we'll soon see an evolved version of the balloon itself. The prospect of an Evo balloon has captured the imagination of the Clash Royale community, with players eagerly speculating about the possibilities and the impact it could have on the meta. One content creator, Furious Fire, has already put forward some intriguing concepts for the Evo balloon. His skeleton drop idea, which envisions includes a hybrid of the balloon and the skeleton barrel, is particularly interesting and could add a new layer of depth to the card's mechanics. However, my personal favorite among Furious Fire's concepts is the notion of giving the Evo balloon its own defensive capabilities. The idea of adding goblins to the balloon is certainly entertaining, but I believe that incorporating a cannon or a bomber could be even more game-changing. Imagine a balloon that could not only target buildings, but also defend itself against ground troops while remaining vulnerable to air units. This would add a whole new dimension to the card's gameplay, and could make for some truly epic battles. As it stands, the balloon remains a potent force in the current meta, boasting a 10% usage rate in both Grand Challenges and Ultimate Champion. With no signs of slowing down, it's clear that the balloon's journey is far from over. As new balance changes and updates continue to shape the world of Clash Royale, I have no doubt that we'll see the balloon reach even greater heights and cement its place as one of the most iconic and influential cards in the game's history. But for now, let's take a moment to explore another fascinating aspect of Clash Royale's rich history. Be sure to check out this video next. It's a captivating look at a card that has played a significant role in shaping the game's meta over the years. See you there.